Hello there guys, what is going on? Son of Chelsea back here again for another edition of Let's Talk Chelsea. Today going to be talking about N'Golo Kante and apparently Chelsea leading the race for the next Virgil van Dijk. But before we get into any of that, I want to ask you guys, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and a notification bell so you never miss an upload. And also smash that like button if you're enjoying the content because it helps out the channel as well. Getting closer now to 8k subs, which would be a massive landmark for the channel. But getting into it firstly with N'Golo Kante. I spoke about Kante yesterday in reference to Chelsea players returning to training, phase 1 of socially distanced training. So we went into that in yesterday's video. And it seemed like Kante, like a lot of the players, will be back training regularly, going through the motions, getting back to some sort of fitness. But we found out last night that Kante has been granted compassionate leave by Chelsea over fears of the current virus, as you can see here from this report from Jacob Steinberg in The Guardian. Well, Kante took part in Chelsea's return to small group training on Tuesday after registering a negative test. The France World Cup winner has concerns regarding attempts to resume the Premier League season. The 29-year-old is not convinced it is safe to train while the UK remains in the grip of the pandemic and was given full consent to miss Wednesday's session by Frank Lampard and the club. Lampard fully supports Kante's stance, and it is not known when the Frenchman who trained at home yesterday will return. Kante's elder brother died of a heart attack shortly before the 2018 World Cup, and he lost his father when he was 11 years old. And it's no surprise to me that Kante would go to make this decision and have fears considering his family and considering his past as well. But it's not just Kante, there's a variety of players. We saw Troy Deeney very publicly come out and talk about his fears about returning because of his son earlier in the week. And this is something that I think the Premier League and fans as well dealing with this is understanding that players are going to have concerns like they have. And I think it all stems, maybe not for Kante, maybe not for Deeney specifically, but I think it's all stemmed from a lack of a clear leadership from the Premier League, in my personal opinion. It's interesting, and I think, I fully support Kante and respect his decision. I understand, the concerns he'll have at the moment with no, clear timeline yet in terms of when the Premier League actually will return in comparison to what the Bundesliga was like. That was very clear 6 weeks before they actually returned to the football pitch. I think until that happens, and until at least we feel that there's a clear vision, I think you're going to have this. And I think players are obviously going to be looking not only at football, because we've spoken about before football being in this isolated bubble, but they're not only going to be looking at football, they're going to be looking at the numbers daily in our country of the virus, what it's doing to people, the amount of deaths. These things affect people's lives, and there's going to be concerns for those players' safety, their health. Clubs are taking extreme measures to make sure players are safe, but at the same time, I think there's juggling that up with the current societal situation as well that we're all going through and experiencing. But I understand Kante, I understand why he's made that decision, and I respect it. How long it's going to take for him to return, we're not entirely sure. Whether we'll see a domino effect now, where certain players, I know Tammy Abraham gave some quotes recently about his fears about bringing the virus back to his home, and I think his father it was, and making him ill. I think that was another thing. And I think not just Chelsea players, a variety of players have expressed concerns. I think just for me, generally, if this keeps on happening and a variety of players from a number of clubs keep on going home and because of fears, it's going to be very difficult for the league to restart anytime soon. These are big players that are doing this. Kante, even though he hasn't played a lot this season for Chelsea, is a major player. And if any player does this, no matter whether they're playing a lot or not for the first team, it should be taken into consideration, because it's, unfair for that current team if they have a number of players out and we still go and restart the league, personally, in my opinion. But those are my thoughts. Please let me know yours on the current situation in the comments below. And next, a bit of transfer talk and rumour from the Evening Standard. Chelsea apparently leading the race for Barcelona startler Xavier Muamba. I've probably butchered his second name there, but his agent has revealed the West London outfit seemingly want to add the 18-year-old to their burgeoning pool of talented youngsters. The centre-back joined Barca in 2019, but is already looking to leave the Catalans after becoming frustrated by the lack of opportunities at the Camp Nou. And the players' representative Carlos Barros revealed Chelsea are in the driving seat after impressing the Dutch youngster with their plans to integrate him into the first team. There's some quotes here from the agent I'll read out now. He said, "Almost all major clubs in Europe have asked about Xavier. Chelsea have the best papers. Of course, we discussed this extensively last year. Chelsea gave a fantastic presentation. There is a unique football atmosphere there. You immediately sit with the first team players during lunch, and the club has outlined a very ambitious plan for Xavier. They really think that in 1 to 2 years he can be in the first team. Frank Lampard has of course already proven that he's not afraid to play young players. Being in the starting lineup at Chelsea at the age of 20 would of course be great. So in truth, we don't know a lot about this youngster. He's only been linked this week, but we do know from his agent now that a lot of big clubs in Europe want him and want to sign him from Barcelona, considering his struggles to get minutes at Barcelona. We've heard this with other youngsters as well. And Chelsea, this is the thing with Lampard, and if he keeps integrating young players in his first team like he has this season, Chelsea are going to be able to be in a stronger bargaining position to get some of these hot prospects now, maybe when in the past they couldn't, because there was a lot of young players who would have thought, actually, why go to Chelsea? I've not got a chance there. If, say, Xavier becomes a massive player and becomes the next Virgil van Dijk, I really hate terms like that. I really hope, the next Eden Hazard, the next Frank Lampard, any of that stuff. I'm not a big fan of those terms because I think it puts a lot of pressure on young players, and I think it sets up them to fail, I think, a lot of the time. But in terms of Mwamba, he's being compared to his fellow countryman Van Dijk because of his height, his stature, his comfort on the ball, which we expect from a lot of modern defenders now. Having that confidence to pass out from the back, which is something not only that we've seen from the likes of Fikayo Tomori, but with a lot of defenders. It's where the game is going, especially at the top level. And Chelsea are going to need those type of defenders if we want to play a progressive style of football. Of course, I want to mention here Gabriel Magalhaes, because he's a little bit older, of course, playing first team football at Lille. We were linked with him weeks ago along with Everton, but now it seems that's called off, and it seems pretty much that Everton are in the driving seat now to sign Magalhaes, which is a little bit disappointing because we did hear how close apparently Chelsea were from one source, and there is interest how serious Chelsea are in terms of investing in centre-back this summer in consideration to other areas that we think need strengthening. I think, as I've always stated, I think it depends on some of those players being let go. I don't think Chelsea are going to sign a new centre-back, but then all of the current centre-backs stay. I think you're going to see maybe 1 or 2 leave permanently. Maybe one goes out on loan. Ethan Ampadu, we still need to think about that. Why sign a player like this if Ethan Ampadu could become that centre-back? He can play at centre-back as well as central midfield. I think those are interesting things as well. It's interesting to me that Chelsea are looking at players like this, looking at younger players, trying to bring them in at an early age and hopefully develop them into first-team players. Now, this just could be one agent talk to big up his player, of course, which is what he's there to do, or Chelsea promising this player one thing. Whether he actually is good enough to break into Chelsea's first team, that's a big shout. As I say, it's interesting to me, Chelsea's scouting system, looking at players like this, maybe looking for alternatives, looking at the future rather than just the present, which I think is important for clubs. But please let me know your opinions on this story, on this player. What do you think about Chelsea's centre-back conundrum anyway? I think that's an interesting topic we've discussed on the channel before, but in terms of looking outside, do you think instead of buying a first team regular this summer, will Chelsea instead look to buy a player who's a little bit younger? Maybe they'll send out on loan and then bring back to develop into the first team in a couple of years, like Xavier. Let me know in the comments below. But that is it for today's edition of Let's Talk Chelsea. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch it. If you did enjoy it, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Follow me on Twitter @SonOfChelsea, and I'll see you again.